Put some jelly on that road, Swing Nation. People grooving together.
Welcome to a special episode of Swing Nation. I'm Nicole, Zuckerpunch, Zuckerman, and we have an interview over Skype today with Jonathan Stout. How's it going
Nicole.
over there?
It's great. It's great. It's so nice to be here talking to you.
Nice. I hear you have a gig coming up in the beginning of July that's going to be kind of something special. The Battle of the Bands with George G, right?
Yeah. I was actually at Stompology and sleeping in after playing, and you were there, and it was awesome, and Carl and a whole bunch of other really cool people. And I basically stayed up all night to do airport runs. And at 11 a.m., after not sleeping at all, and finally getting to sleep, I got a phone call, or a text message rather, and it was George G. And basically, they needed me to step in and battle him on July 5th. So I basically spent the next couple hours texting all the musicians as soon as I could to get everybody lined up. And as soon as I got a quorum together, I was like, all right, let's do this. So on July 5th. We're going to be doing a band battle at this really cool historic venue in Los Angeles. And it's historic for the swing dance community more so than being like an old building. The building is called the Veterans Memorial Auditorium, and it was home to an event called Satin Ballroom, which was for years and years Los Angeles' largest monthly swing dance event. So they basically had a full big band once a month, and it was like 2,000 people. It was huge. And what's really fitting about getting to return there to do a gig is that was the place that our band had their debut. And so it's kind of cool. It's sort of a homecoming because our debut was the last time they held that dance because they were having a finale, and that was going to be it. So nobody's really danced there except for the Battle of the Bands that they did last year with George G. and Dean Mora. So it's really cool for us to go home to the venue we debuted the band 11 years later.
That's right. You're going to have home court advantage.
Yeah, it's nice to have all of my musicians have a 20-minute drive as opposed to a 2-hour plane flight or a 5-hour plane flight.
That's true. So when you say the first gig that your band had together there, I assume you're talking about the Campus 5.
No, we started the Campus 5 in 2002. And it was funny because our drummer Josh Colazzo had actually started a band about 6 months before. He had about 6 months before that started playing with Eddie Reed, who was a big band leader in the swing dance revival community in Los Angeles. And so Josh was a swing dancer, a Lindy Hopper first, who started playing swing drums. He was always a drummer. He started playing with Eddie. After about 6 months, he thought, oh, I'll start a band too, just to have more stuff to dance to. And I ended up getting called for that first gig to sub for my hero, a guy named John Reynolds. And I wasn't playing really professionally at that point. I was just a swing dancer who it was known that I played guitar. And so 6 months after he started his band, Hillary and I got together and started the Campus 5. And that debuted at a club Maxwell DeMille was running in Hollywood. And then our second gig was actually late night at Camp Hollywood. About a year after we started, we were approached by the people at Satin Ballroom who said, okay, you're starting to get it pretty good. We'd like to have you do a small band battle with 2 small bands because, we usually have a full big band, so we can't just have your small band. It has to be the whole thing, 2 bands. And that went really well. And I was really adamant about making sure it was organized in a way that didn't screw over the dancers. Mm-hmm. A lot of times band battles can devolve into, oh yeah, well I can play louder and faster than you. No, I can play louder and faster. And really nobody wins that battle, and the dancers certainly lose it. So it was really important to me to make sure that it was formatted in a way so that both bands got to play when, we all know people tend to show up for the second set a lot of times. So making sure that they didn't miss an entire band, making sure that when the battle was going that there were songs that were actually danceable and it wasn't just top this the whole time. And that was really successful, and it was really well organized, and it worked out. About 6 months later, the people at Satin Ballroom found out that the rent was getting raised through the roof, and there was basically no way it was going to continue in its current form, if at all. And they'd already had like Bill Elliott and Dean Mora booked like the 2 months before that, so they couldn't go back to those bands. And at that point, they had enough faith in what I was doing and how it had come together to be like really danceable but not trite and not like the same old songs that we were used to hearing and got stuck hearing at every gig that, you know, we danced at. So they basically said, okay, Jonathan, can you put together a big band to play this last gig? And I, of course, jumped at the challenge. And so I had about 2 months or 6 weeks lead time, and I started buying charts, started putting charts together. I commissioned to have Artie Shaw's Man from Mars transcribed so that we could play it. That's a song that was only ever, you know, recorded once live at an air check in 1939.
Wow.
And only came out on CD probably in the late 90s or early 2000s. No, in the late 90s. And that had just broken in Los Angeles as like about an awesome Balboa tune. So like immediately jumped on getting that transcribed. So the band was basically created because there was this need in the swing dance community to have another big band to fill this void, because they'd already had the bands that they might have called. And it was funny. The two promoters, Monica and Reinhardt, are German. And so like the sense of humor and the tact of the German people tends to be a little blunt sometimes. And so like I had sort of said like, oh, I might be interested in putting a big band together, you know, months prior. And they said, oh yeah, Jonathan, sure, whatever you say. Like, yeah, you know, don't get too big for your britches. So it was like a huge compliment for them to ask me to do it after they'd been, you know, understandably dismissive so early on. And they're like, okay, no, you can do this, you can handle it. So when they asked, it was like they really needed us to kill it and like really throw down. And so that first gig, you know, everybody came out because it was the final Satin Ballroom. And I have to say, I recently just posted to Facebook a audio recording that Marcelo Tesson did of our first gig, and I posted the very first song that we played that night. And it was something we didn't even rehearse during the sound check, which was very brief. And like you can hear me audibly go, yeah, at the end of it, because I was like pleasantly surprised. I was like, all right, okay, this is really happening, and it's working.
You said something really interesting about the way you, as a dancer, you learn how to be a musician for dancers, like not giving, in a competition, not giving one person like the piano solo and another person like this really exciting moment. I wonder what in turn you feel like dancers can do for bands a bit better, either to like do more or to less of.
Well, I'm a Lindy Hopper first.
Yeah.
And so frankly, there's very little that the community can do that, like that's what we're supposed to do. Like we're right. Jazz musicians are wrong.
I'm gonna quote you on that.
the biggest problems I deal with are basically like, I think sometimes people are interested in novelty more than they are quality. Mm-hmm. And you know, the newest, flashiest thing is the thing you want to play with, and not the thing that is your favorite toy. And sometimes, you know, it's just hard because it's frustrating because you put yourself out there and whatever the newer thing is like, oh, everybody's freaking out about that. Mm-hmm. I think there's that. But I think the dance community has come a huge, long way in terms of really being aware of jazz. I mean, just being at Lindy Focus this year, it was like, you know, a huge percentage of the camp is taking music lessons while they're there.
Yeah.
The number of people sitting on the side of the stage actively watching the musicians because they were so enthralled that they couldn't bring themselves to dance. Like, I think if you keep people from dancing, you're a terrible band. But if you go far enough and you do a good enough job, if you can stop people from dancing just out of awe, like that's amazing. And if the community isn't interested in the bands and isn't interested in music, then that wouldn't happen. So Focus was like mind blowing, like how invested people were in the music and the bands. And I think, you know, there's nothing better than when the community is cognizant of who's in the band. It's amazing to me that like when Albert, our sax player, travels with us, we're in the airport and we run into a dancer and they're like, "Hey, Albert," he's like, "Hey," and knows the person by name. Like that's the kind of thing that we were at Beantown and I spent like a good half an hour hanging out with Norma Miller, me and Hillary, and I just had to ask her about Chick Webb. And I'm a giant nerd about the eras and the way that people played in the swing era versus the pre-swing era versus the post-swing era. And I asked her about dancing to Chick Webb, and she was like, "Oh, well, Mr. Webb," and and she talked about being on the stage of the Apollo, and she like did an aerial and almost hit his cymbal, and he gave her like a glare of like, but like those were people that like Frankie knew the people in the band, like Artie Shaw would recognize Hal Takir like out of the blue. Like and like even years later, I guess Artie was leading a ghost band version of his band because he stopped playing clarinet. And they're at Disneyland and he sees Hal Takir and he's like, "Hal!" like right in the crowd. Like that kind of thing is amazing. And the fact of the matter is that like when we run into like Bobby White, like he's taken a drum lesson from Josh Colazzo. Like he knows Albert. When we run into like all of the awesome people that we get to see at all of the events we travel to, there is that sense of literal community between the band and the dancers. And there's nothing I would say that bothers me about dancers. There's nothing they do that drives us nuts except not come to shows sometimes because the venue sucks to dance at. And it's like I would be guilty of the same thing if I were only dancing at the event, because I was like, I'm not going to a place with a crappy floor. I'm not going to the place with the high cover and the no water and the so like if I had my druthers, everybody would show up for the first set.
Mm-hmm.
But
I'm
I mean,
guilty
like,
on that front.
yeah, and like but these are the practical realities, and they're totally understandable, and definitely like I said, I'm a Lindy Hopper first, so like not clapping at the end of the song, like I haven't expected clapping since we began. Like I certainly don't expect clapping at the end of a solo. Your hands are busy leading or following. Like they're not free for that. So the best thing dancers can do is just be invested and appreciative. And I mean the one thing I wish is I don't get to dance as often as I would like to anymore, and I don't get to just go out and be a dancer only. Because I have so much time and in the world, and most of the time I'm busy playing, and I feel sometimes like, oh, I wish if there was a song that somebody like wanted to hear, I would know, because I don't know what the Man from Mars of right now is, because I'm not at the club on a Tuesday and a Wednesday and a Thursday, like hearing what DJs are playing. And we go to all the national events and I hear what the DJs play on band breaks, but like I don't know what the next big song that I need to be aware of, because when we started, all of the original repertoire of the Campus 5 was stuff that I DJ'd, and I was like, oh, we should do that. Oh, we should do that. And the orchestra's the same way. It was all songs like I would DJ that. And so building a band that is just built around only Lindy hopping and Balboa dancing, and that's it. That I think that was sort of a challenge, and that's sort of how it began.
Where else can people see you in the next couple months if they're following you around?
Well, I'm going to see you at Beantown in like 3 days, which is going to be awesome. I don't think we can find the amazing sandwich you made me at Stompology in Beantown, but we can try. But we'll be at ILHC. The Campus 5 is playing as well, with special guests Charlie Halloran from New Orleans on trombone, who you might know is engaged to our good friend Mia, swing dancer, and Paul Constantino from the Boilermakers. And then the orchestra is going to be playing also with Charlie and Paul and a bunch of the New Orleans guys, and Craig Gildner on piano. And then we'll also be at Camp Hollywood, which is our home event, which you should come visit us at. It's awesome. The Rhythm Busters and the orchestra are playing. And then we'll also be, I'm so excited, we're going to be at Showdown.
Nice.
And Showdown is an event that I've been just like jealously looking at from the side, like, oh, I want to play too. Like the kid who's like seeing the cool kids on the other side of the fence playing ball, and you're like, oh, I wish I could play. And so it's like, it means so much to be asked to do that. And I can't wait to have my first Sazerac in New Orleans and do it right. And then we do have one more orchestra gig or series of gigs that's coming up that I can't yet release. We're still working on the details, but it's really cool because it's going to be something that neither the event nor we have really done before, and it's going to be really historic. So I'm really excited about that.
Wow. I can't wait to hear about that when the details are finally available.
Yeah. And the Campus 5 will also be at the Knoxville Lindy Exchange, and then San Diego Swing Dance Haunt. And I feel like a comedian on a podcast who doesn't know his plugs, and I really hate when they don't do that. But you can check out campus5.com for all of our details and everything.
Great. Well, I'm definitely going to do that. Thank you so much, Jonathan, for joining us. I'm really glad we got to sync up like this, and I will be asking you the rest of the questions I had prepared when I see you at Beantown.
Awesome. I'm really looking forward, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me. I'm really excited to get to share all these cool things with you guys.
Yeah. Safe travels.
Thank you. You too. See you Friday.
See ya.
All around the planet, gates are in the groove. Don't have to understand it, you just have to move. Truck on down, pimp your stroll, put some jelly on that road. Swing Nation, people grooving together.